Hey, everybody. Welcome to our Healing Voices podcast episode 22. I'm Aaron Lehman, your host. I'm excited to be here today with Alex Salomone and really pumped, man, to drop in today. Those of you who are brand new to the podcast or the YouTube channel, the vision here is we all have voices to share. And for some reason, I think that culturally, maybe we've lost that awareness. And so for me, I feel like the thing I get so excited about is hearing all the unique voices. I think we all have stories to share that can really, if we heard somebody else's story, I just think the empathy would grow inside. You know, when we hear what other people have been through, what other people are walking through, it really helps us to just like look in the mirror at ourselves with greater gentleness, honestly. And so it's like, so that's one of the reasons I launched this thing, because I'm like, holy moly. And the fact that every time I go to a coffee shop, I want to drop in with pretty much everybody in the building. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to know, are they happy? Are they, feeling good? Are they stressed out? What's stressing them out? I'm like just a curious kid. I feel like Curious George sometimes. When it comes to people, just want to know stories. So I'm really excited to hear your voice today, Alex. And then the healing piece, for me on the body, mind, spirit, wellness journey, that I've been more actively engaged over the last 15 years, kind of back in 2006 is when I started massage school. Post college, I started reading all these books about cloud gazing. Again, those of you who are first time listeners, I don't know. I read it in a book, and the idea was that I could look at a cloud, and if I focused my energy, the cloud would dissipate and disappear. And so this is the sort, I started reading books like that, and then nice. Started teaching high school for 5 years, and was just amazed at all the stories that we all have, and was really motivated, like, wow, I've got some shifts I need to make if I want to get there, and I think a lot of us have these different dreams, goals, hopes for ourselves when we're younger, and then life happens and things kind of, can deter us and block us. And so I feel like this body, mind, spirit, wellness world, these conversations where we're going to get to hear Alex drop in. You've got those of you who have been on the podcast before, you've heard other folks drop in about their own healing journey. And we're all unique. We're all choosing different pieces to help heal ourselves and to help heal the world. And so, yeah, I just want us to know we're not alone. I want to know I'm not alone. I think that's part of it. I'm like, dude, I want to know what other people are healing right now, and what they're walking through. And I want our listeners to know, hey, you got this, we can do this. Like, you're not in it alone, right? So welcome to those of you who are first timers, those of you who have been around a while. Thanks for being back. Thanks for all your support and just encouragement, because I'm stoked. I'm stoked to see what we're going to learn today as we get to know Alex better and hear more about his journey thus far. So let's start there, Alex. You are a beautiful dude with a heart for helping others.
Thank you so much, Aaron.
As I've read, and let me just introduce you to others. Like, Alex is a life coach. He's supporting lots of people right now. And he didn't start a life coach. I think he's been a coach for many years in all parts of his journey. But This life coaching thing that he's doing now is newer, it's fresher, and he's bringing all of his experiences from immigrating to the United States at a young age. He'll share more about that, to adjusting, with English as a second language and that whole path, and then joining the Marine Corps and serving the United States for 6 years, and then being in the reserves here after that, working at Google, challenging times, broke times, successful times. Anyway, I'm just pumped to have you here and excited to hear more about your journey, man. So why don't you just drop us in what, like, as you kind of look back, and if you want to go back to the beginning, you know, you're all a little bit more and tell us more about that. That'd be awesome. And if there are
Absolutely.
a few specific pieces that you want to like drop into deeper and kind of tell us more about your healing journey up till now, I'm excited to hear you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, first and foremost, thank you so much, Aaron, for having me. I feel honored to be a part of this beautiful thing you've created. It's a beautiful idea. It's a beautiful energy, and I love the meaning behind it. And I can feel it, and it just shows the passion that you have. And it's a powerful thing. And I just want to share with you and everyone who's listening right now my gratitude for this incredible opportunity to share my voice and to have, to be able to have this connection with you listeners and with you. And such an incredible man. And I'm very honored to be able to do this. So thank you again for having me as your guest. And I'm super excited to be sharing my story, my journey, my thoughts, and in hopes to help whoever's listening to right now. I know and believe, I believe that everything happens for a reason in this world. And if you are listening to this, there's a message here for you. And I hope that Aaron and I can deliver that for you, and it can be a benefit for you. It can help you and give you encouragement to have a fulfilling and empowering life. So thank you again.
Yeah, man.
And I'll get started.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right. Cool. Well, Aaron he pretty much hit the head in the nail. Pretty good summary there of my life. I was born in Argentina and grew up pretty humbly, pretty poor, and to the point where, I remember at one point my father decided to move to a farm, and we were not farm folks, but we were going to be farm folks, right? And we moved into this small little hut. This is pretty much what I remember it being. It was a really small room, and it had 2 bedrooms. A really small bedroom. It was a bedroom where my parents slept, and it was a bedroom where myself and my brothers and sisters slept, and then a tiny little kitchen area. And we didn't have a running shower, so I remember my mom would boil water on a giant pot, right? And we would go outside, and that's how we would bathe. So, wow. When I tell you we grew up poor, it was pretty poor.
Yeah, so, simple. Yeah,
very, very simple. But you know what though, Aaron, those memories would play a huge impact and a benefit as later years came into my life, and you'll be able to connect those dots as I share more. But just to give you a little idea, that's how I grew up in Argentina. I'm the oldest out of 5 total kids. I have 2 brothers and 2 sisters. We're a big family. And yeah, so grew up in Argentina, migrated to the United States in 1999. And we were excited, but at the same time, a little nervous. It was first time being in an airplane, first time flying for so long, and going to a new place, a new home. And, my father, he and my mom, they both sold everything. And I remember I was wondering why, I didn't understand it as a kid, why we were getting rid of everything. But yeah, we migrated to the United States in 1999, lived in Florida for a little bit. And I thought, wow, what an amazing place. What a beautiful place this country is. And it was so different. And I don't know for those of you who have traveled to different countries and to hear a foreign language, right? It sounds like noise, but it's kind of like cool because it sounds so interesting. But it's just imagine just hearing all this noise essentially, but not understanding any of it. And as a kid, it was something that was very unique experience, and I'll never forget it. And it really it was an overwhelming experience of a new place, of new people, of new sounds and new experiences in itself. But then we moved to Utah because my father didn't like Florida. It was a little, for his liking, it was a bit too busy for a big family. He was looking for something more chill, a little bit more calm. So we moved to Utah, completely different, you know,
Totally.
ecosystem, culturally and in itself. The first time seeing snow, this and that. So all these experiences, right? Well, my father, when we first came to the United States, he worked all the time. So he worked from Monday through Saturday and only had Mondays off. And I would never see him during the week because he worked from the morning, 6 in the morning, and he wouldn't get home until like 10 or 11 p.m. So he worked a lot. My mom was a stay-at-home mom with 5 kids. And, it was, you add all those elements of being in a new place and learning a new language and all those things. So it was a lot. It was a lot for everybody. And I had a hard time going to school at first because I didn't understand people, and like I felt isolated, and I wanted to communicate. I didn't have any friends. There was a few kids from Latin America or Central America, like from Mexico and things like that, that I would talk to, but it was very difficult. And unfortunately, my parents had a real problem with communication, and they didn't grow up with the best habits. So there was a lot of friction between them. And my mom, she suffered from depression that we didn't even know about, and she had bipolar. She was diagnosed with bipolar later on. So coming home was not pleasant. And being the oldest, it was everything was my fault, and it was tough. You go to school, you don't have friends, and you feel like you don't understand anything. You're kind of just sitting there, and then you feel isolated, and you're not the cool kid, essentially, because we were just got to this country. We didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't have all the clothes, all the fancy stuff that all the other kids did. And then I came home, and then my mom was really, really mentally and physically abusive, right? So it was a lot. And from a very young age, I was in a kind of a dark place, right? Of trying to understand, like, why are things so negative? They felt so negative. And so I had a lot of anger inside of me, and that anger was going to continue to go through my life because I didn't deal with it, right? I didn't know where it stemmed from. But so that's a little idea there. I know that I covered a lot, growing up in Argentina and then coming to the US, there was those challenges, right? Very personal things that were happening as growing up as a kid and as a teenager, and just trying to figure out life, trying to figure out yourself. It was an additional pressure that it was crappy at home, and it was not that great at school. So life just didn't feel that great, even as a kid.
Yeah.
So I started to really, get into fights because I had all this anger. And my dad, same thing. When I saw him on the weekend, on Sundays, he was very strict, and he wanted me to do chores, and he was very hard on me. And he was also mentally and physically abusive. So I had all this anger, and I would get into fights, and I started to I was known for that. I was just getting into a lot of fights. So I grew up very rebellious, right? I was very rebellious and just angry child, very, very angry kid. So at the age of 17, I moved out of the house because I just couldn't take it anymore. There was I had a huge argument with my father, and I pretty much ever since then, I've been on my own at the age of 17. And I was living in my car, my little car, because I didn't have nowhere to go. A little Honda Civic, 1989 Honda Civic DX. And I just stuffed everything in there. And I lived there for, I think, like 4 to 6 months. And it was very, very challenging. I was very sad. I remember crying all the time and feeling very lonely. And I really went into some dark times and dark places during all of these years. So that happened around the age of 17. But then this independence grew, right? Of saying, you know what, I have to survive, I have to eat, I have to, I'm on my own now, is what I felt like. So I started to just I got a job, and I still was in high school, so I was still going to school, and I would shower in the gyms and just doing everything I could just to make it.
Yeah.
And eventually, things got better with my family, with my father in particular, and we fixed things up there, and I was in a much better place, and I started to really get my things together, right? My act together.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to, after high school, I didn't want to go to college. I felt like I wasn't ready for that. So I went and lived in England for 6 months. And I came back because I had family in Italy and in England. And I came back to visit. And I was like, you know what? I kind of miss home, being the US, being home. And I think I'm just going to stay. So I stayed, and I felt such huge gratitude for everything that this amazing country has. I felt like, wow, like this country has given me so much. I had a moment of reflection, and I was 19 years old at this time. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I felt really grateful for everything that's given to me and my family. And even though I had gone through a lot of struggles, as you just heard, mm-hmm. There was so much that was given, so much opportunity, and such a better lifestyle that this country has given to myself and my family. Mm-hmm. So I really wanted to do something for this country. And that's when the seed grew of wanting to serve this country. Mm-hmm. So I said, well, I think I want to join the armed services. So I went to the Army recruiter, talked to them. Okay. I went to the Navy recruiter, talked to them. Okay. And then I went to the Marine Corps office. And that was such a unique experience. And I'm not going to go too much into detail with that, but essentially I was like, wow, this is me right here. These guys are the best, and it's the longest boot camp and the toughest. And it's just, yeah, that's what I want. I want to be a Marine. I want to serve this country and doing it in the best way that I can. Mm-hmm. So long story short, I said, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And I went and I told my parents, and they were not happy. This was in 2009, 2008 or so. And, we were still at war, and things were very active in the Middle East. And so a lot of it was out of fear. And they were just like, man, why can't you just do something normal? For them, it's like, why do you always have to be doing crazy things? Uh-huh. But yeah, I was like, well, this is what I want to do. I want to serve this country, and this is how I want to do it. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of ways you can do that, of course, but this is the way I wanted to do it. So because I got into a lot of fights, and I had a little bit of a juvenile record that I'm not proud of, but it's the truth. Yeah. I needed some waivers, and I needed some. They were like, we want you, but you have quite the past, my friend. So I needed letters of recommendation, this and that, and they're like, it will help if you go to college. So I went to college full time, and I paid for it myself. I was doing like 15 credits and had a full-time job and a part-time job. Wow. So I was like just overwhelmed with all of these challenges that were presenting themselves to me. But I said, I'm not going to give up. Mm-hmm. No matter what, this is what I want, and I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to keep showing up until they tell me you can't join. And I never said that. They just kept raising up the bar, and I kept chasing that bar and meeting it. Mm-hmm. So it took me about 2 years to join the Marines. Finally, I was able to join the Marine Corps. And it wasn't like everybody else that went to the office, signed up a piece of paper, a contract, and they were good. I had to work for it. And it really tested my true desire of wanting to join. So I went to boot camp, made it through. And that is when I think the next level of what I call leveling up in life and knowledge and understanding and things like that came
Mm-hmm.
to me. I was 20 years old, and it's just, I got to know myself at a whole new, deeper level, not only just from what I was capable of doing, but mentally.
Mm-hmm.
The Marine Corps boot camp, for those of you who are familiar with it, it's tough, but it's very hard. We have the toughest boot camp out of all branches and the longest.
Mm-hmm.
There's no outside contact allowed, like many other branches allow it. There's no cell phones, nothing. You just communicate via letters for 3 months, and you get treated like crap from the day you arrive until you graduate. You earn the title of becoming a U.S. Marine. It is not given. You have to earn it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember having moments, they break you down and they build you up, essentially. I remember having moments of where I would cry, and I would be like, wow, I'm so grateful for my family, and I'm really miss them. And, if you do things right, you got yelled at for doing things right. There's no empathy. There was no like, oh, good job. Like none of that.
Mm-hmm.
None of that existed.
Mm-hmm.
So they really wanted to break you down and build you a really tough and strong individual.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a newborn moment for me, where I got to deal and heal from a lot of things, a lot of anger that I had, and a lot of things of that nature, because I was ultimately challenged, and in a way that that was very emotional and very mental.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted this more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, I graduated and I made it through boot camp. I was very proud. Then continued my journey onto the Marine Corps, into the School of Infantry. I ended up leaving the Marine Corps as a forward observer. That was my MOS 0861, and I was a sergeant and did a lot of things, everything I wanted to do and more. I was part of a specialized unit, and I got to work with SEALs teams and Rangers, Army Rangers, and SF guys, and all that. And I was challenged every single day. Every single day I would go, I was challenged to grow, whether it's a school that I went to or the individuals I was with. And as I grew into the Marine Corps more and more and more, and I picked up more rank, I became a leader, and with responsibilities of people's lives, and also understanding people from the Midwest and people from the East Coast, the city boys and the country boys, and having to lead them and respect you on a very alpha-driven place, really also forced me to really understand people, really take the moment to get to know my guys, get to know where they came from, how they communicate, what's effective, what's not effective. And I really learned so much from my time in the Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll take a little pause there in case you have any questions, but that's pretty much, if you have already get an idea of like, that's what's happened, right, up to that moment, of as far as growth and as far as the journey that it's been up to that moment, and how all of that has really connected and played with one another in many ways.
Oh man, I mean, I'm loving your sharing right now.
Okay.
This is heaven for me. Just hearing.
Okay, cool.
Right. And I mean, for me, it's, we just don't know what other people have walked through, and as I'm listening to you, I'm just like, holy moly, like what is, this is this is real. I think we sometimes, it's like, you see movies and you're like, oh, that character has it rough, or that character's been through some stuff, or we're going through our own stuff. But like, as you're sharing, it's like, yeah, I mean, I just have a lot of love and empathy for just, what you walked through, younger years. I cannot imagine coming here to the States and like English being difficult, home life being challenging, extreme. It sounds like extremely challenging. It's like, anyway, as I'm thinking about, so up until that point, you know, you talked about the Marines being a big shifter for you. There was also some, you know, when you left the home and you were like looking in the mirror, kind of looking in the gym mirror and like, okay, what do I want to, where am I headed next? You were getting in touch with that. Were there any like specific mentors during, you know, like that, that gave you a little glimpse of what may be like a different world that you were like, I don't know, not necessarily, I mean, it could be somebody, you know, a famous person that you were like idol, like we're like, wow, I choose to create a different world than what I was raised in or what I've walked through. Were there any specific people that like gave you hope? Like, was it Marine Corps folks? Was it somebody in high school that you met that like talked to you a certain way and it spoke to you, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
anyway.
No, it's a great question.
Yeah.
So I think my uncle, he was the only adult figure that I had that really guided me and really saw the potential that I had as an individual and wanted to show me what I was capable and the opportunities that lived within this universe, right? And so when I lived in England, I lived with him, and he, showed me all the beautiful things about life. And he said, you know already what it feels like to be poor, or what it feels like to struggle, and all these other things. That I want to show you this side of life too, that this too can be part of your life. And so when I lived in England for those 6 months, it was like he was very wealthy, and he really showed me what that felt like and what that lifestyle looked like. We had dinner with the royal family, and there was a lot of really unique experiences that I'll never forget. And so that was having that opportunity, right, was something that was a unique experience. But if you even take away all of the money stuff, right, he taught me something very, very, very important, is that anything is possible and anything is reachable, because he too came from humble beginnings, and he made it to where he was at that moment. And so he just wanted to show me that anything was possible, and that I was smart, and that I was capable, and that I was able to really manifest anything that I wanted to. So I think he was someone that really gave me a glimpse at a very young age for a short amount of time, of what life could be like.
Yeah. Sweet, man. Yeah. I was just curious because, like those specific mentors, that's so awesome that he was able to show up in that way and be an example of anything is possible. Because I think that's a message. I feel like a lot of us, by the time we get to 12 or 13, like dreams are starting to like fade, right? You're like, yeah, probably not going to play professional soccer. Like the dreams kind of just start falling by the wayside. And then we're like, well, just suck it up and get a real job for the next 40 years. It's kind of, if that feels like what we're kind of sold. And so it's really beautiful when you have a mentor or somebody that says like, no, dude, you got it in you, like you have it in you. You have that potential inside of you. So cool that he was able to show up in that way for you. So that was really a question. That was a question I had. And then, so the Marine piece, it sounds like you were able to, the leadership stuff that you were able to step into as a sergeant, and like working, you mentioned like working with gents from all over the place, right? Where you're like, okay, city boys, they're not responding to that. That doesn't really work. Right. Like learning how to communicate in a way that was impactful and effective. What huge opportunity that was for you. And it sounds like you just went after it, right? You went after that. What after the Marines? Where'd you go from there? Like what? So you did 6 years. Anyway.
Yeah. So I did 4 years active duty. and 2 in the reserves. And during my active duty time, I was stationed in Camp Pendleton in California. It's, for those of you who don't know, it's by San Diego area. And then I loved it there. I was like, wow, I really love the Marines. And I was actually supposed to stay in the active duty sector, but they lost my package, my re-enlistment package. And this is a cool story. I'll briefly touch on it. You know, I was like, yeah, I'm a lifer. I love the Marines. I'm going in a good way. Like I have a, you know, great record and everything that I've done. So like, I want to stay, you know. And I was in the process of transitioning to a more of a intense sector.
Yep.
And right before, a few months before it was time for me to do my re-enlistment, I went to check in and I was like, hey, I noticed that, you know, I haven't heard back from you guys. And I'm just curious, like, you know, how does this go? I thought we were supposed to be doing like more paperwork. And long story short, they lost my package. And my battalion commander, you know, he called Quantico, Virginia, and which is the headquarters of the Marine Corps. And there's like, look, there's nothing we can do. All the boats spaces have closed because basically that's how it works. You have to get accepted to re-enlist, but also you have to, there's only a certain amount of spaces because they got people enlisting in, like outside people, and then there's folks who already are in. And so they have a certain amount because of the schools that they can fill in, right? And there was no more boat spaces. So he tried his best because, you know, he had a lot of respect for me and the type of Marine I was, he tried his best, but they were like, I'm sorry, unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. So that really was difficult for me because I was a really good Marine. I had an amazing record, and I was one of the top tier 1 performer, which is really, really rare. And I felt like a slap in the face, right? Because this is what I wanted to do. And they pretty much say, well, you only have 2 options. You can either A, just get out, or 3 actually. It was A, get out, B, and listen to an opening MOS, which would mean change jobs. And all the opening ones were non-combative jobs that I did not want to do. I did not want to be a mail clerk. I didn't want to do laundry or any of those things. Not that there's anything wrong with that. For those who have, it wasn't for me. So they're like, or third, you can enlist in the Marine Corps reserves and, you know, eventually get back again into the active duty if you want. And there's an opening that you can try out to be in Anglico, which is a specialized unit. So I thought about it long and hard, and I went on the reserve route. And why I say it's funny is because the universe is always looking out for us. And that right there, that pinnacle moment changed my life forever, Aaron. And it led me to the point of being here now. Because if I was in the active duty right now, we wouldn't be having this conversation, and I wouldn't be a life coach and so on and so forth. I wouldn't be able to help as many people as I have and want to continue to help. So so that happened. And, you know, getting out of the Marine Corps was really tough. I dealt with a lot of depression. Getting back into the civilian sector was really difficult for me. I started going back to college or to school, excuse me. And I had a hard time with the kids that were going there. You know, I felt like I was one of the older guys, and, you know, I was hardwired in thinking like a Marine. And, you know, I had to learn how to socialize again like a normal person. I know this sounds strange, but on top of that, I was going through some, you know, what I later found out was like PTSD. And separating was really tough for me. So I had anxiety and depression. And at the time I was married, and my ex-wife decided to leave me. I was in a very dark place. She didn't know how to help me, and she had her issues too. So that added to already me feeling really in a dark place. And she took everything, because one time I had gone on a trip and to Vegas to just, we were separated, and she didn't like that. So I came home and she just emptied my bank account, all that other stuff. And I had nothing. I was back to square one, not even 1, 0.
Yeah.
So I'm separating from the Marines. I went from being up here, a sergeant, respected, all this other stuff, to then struggling in life in general, feeling depressed, feeling anxious, dealing with a lot of different things emotionally. And now, you know, feeling like I was broken. And because my wife didn't want to be with me, didn't know how to help me. So that drove me into a really, really deep depression, like really deep depression. And the reason why I'm telling you all this is because it's going to be very important. Because I started drinking, you know, I was drinking a bottle of whiskey a day. And I just wanted to be numb because I had so many emotions. And finally, one day I woke up and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done living like this. What are you doing? It's time to change. It's time to change your life. Okay. You didn't come this far to just throw it all away. So I threw all the alcohol away. You know, I stopped taking the medication that was messing with me, I felt. And I started to deal and feel my emotions. And there was a lot of crying. There was a lot of release. There was a lot of anger that came out, but it was all, I was learning myself all over again in a different way. And I was healing subconsciously with the pain that was there from the divorce, and also from everything else that happened while I was in the Marines. And I just dealt with myself. That is so important. I'm going to say it again. I dealt with myself in a positive way, in a loving way, in a way that was constructive and was positive. It was giving me positive results. And the process of it was painful at first. It was, you know, I was, like I said, I was very lonely. I remember going to Laguna Beach and sitting there and for hours and just crying. I was so sad, very, very sad. And I had taken on so much responsibility of things that were not my fault. And that we do that so often as human beings, and we beat ourselves up, especially when we are down. And so instead of doing that, I started to lift myself up and forgive myself, forgive others. And I started to really embrace love, embrace this possibility of living life, and embrace the fact that my brothers who I've lost in the Marines couldn't be there, but I had an opportunity every single day, a new, fresh opportunity to do things differently. I had that was gifted to me every single day. And it would be selfish of me to not take those opportunities and to do something different. Right. So that's begun my healing journey. Right. And surprisingly, you know, when you're down here, you're at this lower vibrational field, everything is negative. If you're negative inside, your outside world becomes negative. And as I started to heal and believe in myself and remember everything that I have gone through, and to be strong and to be brave and to just like let go and really just forgive, my vibration started to rise, right? And as the vibration started to rise, the doors started to open, and my world became more positive. Flowers became more beautiful. The skies became more beautiful. The air in my face became more real, more fresh, and more grounding. And I felt like I was born again. And I'll never forget that, because it was a choice, one choice that I made in deciding that I was no longer going to be living like that. I was no longer going to be feeling the way I was feeling, and to heal. So as that journey began, I was going to school and I was studying sociology because I loved understanding people, and it was I learned so much about my family and other things that I didn't know about, and I was almost done with sociology, and my professor's like, "Hey, can I pull you aside? You're one of my top students, and I just wanted to let you know, I know you're a little older. Like, what do you plan on doing with this degree?" And I said, "I don't know. I just love it."
Yeah.
She said, "Well, just so you know, you need at least a minimum of a master's degree or a doctorate if you want to do anything meaningful with this degree in the realm of sociology."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Oh, okay, that's a lot of school.
Right.
Okay, thank you for letting me know that." So I went home and I thought about it, and I'm like, it doesn't align with what I want right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I switched my major to business with emphasis on marketing. And that's how I got into Google, right? That journey began because I met somebody and I was like, yeah, I'm going to school for this. And via networking, my good friend Benjamin, he opened the opportunity for me to go to an agency in Los Angeles to get to know different verticals, different departments, social media, paid search, analytics, so on and so forth. So I would have a better understanding of what the marketing field looked like, because I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I just knew that it was a good degree, good. You can get a lot of jobs with it. So, anyways, I talk a lot.
This is what I love, man. So you're doing awesome. And I mean, I want to also just breathe on that. Just freaking proud of you, man. Just the courage, when you were sharing about just sitting there on the beach and just crying, it's like, I could see you, I could see you there, and you've been there, and just what a gift to know, like, to be hearing your story right now, that you've just consistently over time just have continued to say, you know what, this is a gift. Like, I'm waking up and this is a gift. What can I do with this gift that I have? And so thanks for sharing all that. I mean, that was powerful, just powerful. So, and then, this shift into sociology, curiosity, marketing, and business stuff, and then Google connections and that networking that starts to happen. You ended up landing a gig with Google at some point in the coming months or whatever after that.
Yeah, it was a year after working. I got the job. I told my friend, I'm like, hey, I want to work for Google. That's my ultimate goal. He's like, well, you need at least 5 more years of experience. I said, give me 1 year, I'll do it. And then I did it 6 months, and I got the job.
That's awesome. And what was it? It was just relationships and just confidence and just saying, like, this is, I choose this, or what do you feel like was what allowed the door to open? Yeah.
What it was is, remember I told you guys at the very beginning that all of this would connect from the time that how I grew up in Argentina being poor, right? And here it is right here. All throughout all my journey thus far, up to before Google, I had learned one key important element, and that was to believe in yourself. Believe that anything is possible, but feel it. Don't think that you can do it, but feel that you can do it. And be determined, be passionate, be driven, and don't look out for opportunities, but create your own opportunities. And so I think that really was that mentality that anything was possible, and that no matter what, I was going to find a way. I was going to find a way, and by just believing and being myself and being really true in what I was doing.
Yeah. Amazing. And then you got to Google, and at some point you started to look in the mirror and be like, is this what I'm going to do? That's 15, 20 plus years. Is this where I want to drive my stake and keep living in this world? And what was that? Tell us more about the shift from there to now. Like, what's that been about? What's that, anyway, I'm loving listening to you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'll make it quick.
Yeah.
And that is that I came to realize, like, I was making great money, working for my dream job, what I thought at the time, and everything that I wanted, I got,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But there was one minor issue,
Mm-hmm.
or I should say two, to be fair.
Yeah.
One, I felt like I had no balance. Okay. I felt like I was in the large customer sales team, which it's sales, right? So, um, basically my book, I had a book of 200 plus million dollars that I oversaw, and I needed to grow that book, right? So it was very like kind of greedy in a way, okay, a little bit, in
Yeah.
my opinion. Of course, I love Google. I think it's a great company.
Yeah.
But it was just, for me, it was a little bit of that. And I was like, what impact am I making in the world? Right. There's that thing that came up. And then secondly was, I feel like this career path is extremely demanding with something that I'm not passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't passionate about, selling ads, basically what we did, and really just, it wasn't something like I liked it. That's why obviously I got good at it. That's why I got to that point, but I never had a passion for it. I saw an opportunity and I took it, you know, but I came to realize that I wasn't really passionate about it. So there's that. And I said to myself, where do you see yourself in, 5 years from now?
Mm-hmm.
Are you happy? Do you feel fulfilled? The money is there, that's great and all, but is not everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the stress was pretty hardcore and the demand was pretty hardcore. And to me, it was not worth it.
Yeah.
So I said, great, well, what do I do now? I thought I reached my dream job, and I'm realizing that this is just not it.
Mm-hmm.
So what now? I'm 30 years old at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what?
Yeah.
So I had to do some digging, and I went back to my roots and really just, I stopped looking at the money and all that stuff. And I said, what am I passionate about?
Mm-hmm.
Like really, what am I absolutely passionate about that I could just do all day and feel like it's not even a job, that I just enjoy?
Right.
And it took me some time to dig, and I created this technique on how to kind of map it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered that it was helping people.
Yeah.
That when I was in the Marines, that was it. That's why I loved it. One of the many reasons why I loved it so much was because I get to lead people and watch them grow. And some of these were just kids coming off high school, teaching them and watch them become men. And then before that, and motivating people, and like helping them see what their potential were, just how I was, shown that once upon a time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I had realized that I've been helping people all this time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just was doing it because I without thinking about it. And people would call me when they had issues and things like that.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, what do I do with this? Do I become a psychologist? Not really my style.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't even know what a life coach was until I ran into it. And I'm like, that's it. That's it. It's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I started to discover Bravery was born. It's called Bravery Life and Health Consulting. Bravery because you have to be brave to want to grow, to want to face your fears, to want to face your pain and face all of the things that are blocking you from becoming at your full potential. You have to be brave, but with nobody else but yourself. And so that's where the name comes, Bravery. And it just started as a side thing I was doing while I was working at Google. And the more I hone into it, the more I felt like I need to just leave Google. I just need to leave. I can't wait until I can leave. Until finally I said, you know what? I'm done. Like, that's it. I'm going to figure it out. I'm not going to fight the universe anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to go for it and figure it out. So I left with I wasn't making any money from Bravery. I didn't know if it was going to work out or anything like that, but I just said, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
So I did.
Yeah. And you felt it. It was just,
I
you sat there,
felt it.
you were like, yeah. And just
I
said,
said to myself, if I've gone this far by just liking things, right? By just learning things, imagine how far I can get when I'm passionate about something. I said, Alex, you can do anything. Don't forget that. And so I did. And here we are. We're still on this beautiful journey. And that's a very long-winded
oh,
life story of mine.
dude, that's so good though. That's the, and I love that piece there at the end is you're just like, you were successful at these other pieces. You've been creating success over the last decade, decade-ish or whatever, like since you left the house, like since you left your family's house, right? You've
Yeah.
created success. And there was this, and the Google piece, like you became good at it, but you said the stress levels were high and the passion, you just were like, oh, I'm not sure I can lock into that. It just didn't necessarily vibrate in the same way, like the coaching that you're doing now. Like you said, when you get to walk through a day, have a session with somebody, have a coaching session with somebody, and you're like, wait, that was my job. That was work.
Yeah.
Because you're like just showing up and listen, giving them guidance and everything. What's just because I'm curious, because I think that we always, a lot of times on the episodes we're talking about, there's just so many modalities of what, wellness, right? I've listened to you a lot this morning. I was like cruising through a lot of your TikTok videos, and I know you have a lot of specific habits that help you show up daily. I would be curious if you wouldn't just mind sharing just a few, like, even I thought it was amazing this morning you sent me a text and you were like, you just even like, so you talked about social media in the evening. So anyway, just some of those pieces that are like so critical and crucial, is like, what are some of those habits that you're choosing regularly that are allowing you to feel this passion, to feel confident? Coaching is a journey, right? I mean, it's not a cakewalk. It's not for everybody. I think receiving coaching is for everybody, but like being a coach is maybe not for everybody. It takes bravery for sure. What are you doing daily to keep yourself in that mindset, in that place of like, okay, I can do this. I'm gonna, what are some habits that are your go-tos? I'm just curious.
Yeah, for sure. I think, the number one thing that I would say is reminding myself that I control my reality and that I control me. And what that means is I get to control my feelings, I get to control my thoughts, and I get to control my actions. There are things in the outside world that we cannot control. And the minute that we put focus on those things, it alters our reality. Therefore, we don't understand that we can control that. For example, if my car broke down, I can choose to be upset about that, or I can choose to be like, you know what, it broke down, I'm going to get it fixed, life goes on. It's a choice. So I would say that's one thing. And probably one of the most important thing is finding balance in your life. And I wake up every single morning with gratitude. That's the first thing that I do. I take a moment to just breathe and just be grateful for at least 3 things in my life that I'm grateful for that day. And I usually try to make them different things. And I don't just say them just to say them, but I actually put my hand over my heart and I take the time to feel that gratitude. Okay. So what happens is I start my day with a positive intention and with a positive thought. And, this habit is really important because it sets your day. And what I do from that moment on, it's really important, like making my bed, and having these routines, having that self-care time in the first hour of the morning are really pinnacle moments for me, that whatever comes my way, I'm already feeling grounded. So that's one thing. And another thing is, yes, it's that balance part, right? Which is, as you mentioned, after certain amount of time, I don't get on social media. I don't, on Sundays, I try not to be on social media at all, actually. If I really, really do my best not to do that. And just, if I'm going to teach people self-care, then obviously I need to perform it myself. I need to live this, and I do. And I always say lead by example. So, you know, always find the balance and understand that your body is a vessel of energy. It's what it is, right? And anger, it's an energy, and you can choose to let it go through you, process it, let it go, or you can choose to hang on to it, right? Sadness, frustration, all these things that we experience as humans, they're beautiful things, really, because they give us opportunities to learn and feel. But it's important to understand and to be really mindful of what you do with those emotions, those feelings that you control, and to just let them go, feel them and let them go. So in doing that, I keep my vibration at a high state. And by keeping my vibration at a high state, when challenges come, when I'm feeling, you know, a little bit under the weather or things of that nature, I have the confidence to push through those moments, because I know that I control my thoughts and I control my feelings. And I know the impact that they have based on how I choose to navigate those thoughts and feelings.
Awesome. Yeah, that's such good stuff there. And you know, the one thing that jumped out was the vessel of energy, right? And so and discerning, right? Now, I mean, I've been thinking about like my own journey with therapy, you know, which it's like crying about something when I'm crying with my therapist about something that happened in my younger years, and I'm like, I'm still crying about this, but how do I that allow those, it's like versus it sitting there all day, every day, right? And, I'm thinking about that all day, every day, that memory, that, you know, that trauma, that challenge. And I hear you kind of saying like, you know, these are beautiful emotions. This is part of the human experience. Just realize, as a vessel of energy, if you allow the anger and resentment to sit on the shoulder that like for the next 3 weeks, and you're hovering on that and focusing on that 24/7, it's probably going to impact your world big time. So anyway, I love what you're saying there with just, and then the balance piece and starting the day, like you talked about vibration and just how key that is, where it's like, you know, that you have choice, that you have choice, that we all have choice in what, you know, what we're thinking, what we're feeding our minds. I mean, you choosing to wake up and be like, all right, 3 things I'm grateful for, right? That's already just tapping into that vibration of wellness, right? The vibration of goodness, you know? So anyway,
100%.
I love it. Well, I want to honor your time. And I also am just like, I'm just so grateful to have gotten to know you better today. I'm really excited to keep knowing you and continue to stay connected to you in these coming months and years, because shoot, I don't know, we'll co-create something, I know, at some point again, you know. And it's just like, it's so encouraging to hear you take us through the real, like a, you know, and obviously we could have dove in. I could have asked you like a bunch of other questions about, tell me more about what, you know, childhood was like you come, I mean, that's insane to me. That's insane. Like you're coming into a school and everybody's talking 100 miles an hour. And, you know, I don't know where your English was at that point, but it sounds like not so much there. And so I'm in awe of where you're at right now, having walked through all that you've walked through, and that you continue to just faithfully build that belief in what you're creating, and build that belief in helping others and building that, you know, I'm just proud of you, man.
Thank you.
So yeah, I think that it's it's a gift to hear those elements, because you know, I know a lot of listeners have their stories, right? They've got their stories, they've got their hesitations, they've got their, how can I get through this feelings, right? You know, and to hear you talk about how you've chosen to get through it, and you daily are choosing to say, because you know, you could easily choose tomorrow to be like, all right, whiskey, here we go, but you're not.
Yeah.
You're choosing daily to just say, you know what, freaking water at the beginning of the day sounds perfect, you know, or whatever.
Yes.
So anyway, just proud of you. Thanks so much for
Thank
dropping
you.
this in. Those of you who are listening today, whether on YouTube or podcast, just grateful for you coming, and definitely reach out to Alex. You know, if you'd like to dive in with some coaching and dive in further, and like have him, you know, maybe you're going through some tough stuff right now and you need just an encouraging accountability space. And, you know, I think you've heard today, as I have, that's what Alex is seeking to create for his clients. And so, anyway, just super grateful. My closing question would be, and we'll make sure we link all of your stuff so people can find you. Okay. You know, Instagram, TikTok, your website, so people can contact you and definitely get in touch with you. So let's say there's a room full of 20,000 and they're like, they're on the edge of their seat. Okay. They've been maybe they've been a part of this. Let's say they've been a part of like a weekend, a motivational weekend or something like that. And you're like, you're the keynote, the final night. And they're like, pens ready, hearts open. They're like, all right, I know this dude. I know this dude's been through some stuff. He's walked through some stuff. He can relate to me, right? He can relate to me. I know that he's felt the darkness, the challenge, the anger, all, he's been through it. I want to hear what he's got to say. You know, what would, you know, and I know you've shared that throughout, you've shared really great wisdom and tips throughout, but what would be like 2 or 3 things that you're just like, you would want to send people away with, you would want people to walk away like chewing on or working on for themselves?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I love it. I think it's a very powerful question. And I'm going to give you 3 because I work in 3s.
Awesome.
So 1 is something, the most important thing I would say is believe in yourself. I'm going to say that one more time. Believe in yourself. Believing in yourself has so much power, right? Because that's what creates a limiting world unlimited. Because if you believe that you can do something, anything is possible, which is look at history. So believe in yourself first and foremost. Secondly, I learned this from the Marine Corps. 3 words: improvise, adapt, and overcome. If you can just look at life, at whatever comes at you, if you can just improvise, okay? Improvise to the situation, improvise in how things sometimes may not work out the way they do, and improvise, adapt to the situation and overcome it. If you can just look at every obstacle in your life that presents to you, with those 3 words, you will get through it. And lastly, this is a very important one: know when to quit and learn when to quit, but never give up. Learn when to quit, but never give up. And what I mean by that is you should never give up on yourself. Okay? Never quit on yourself. Never quit on your passions. Never quit on your beliefs. Never quit on your dreams, on the things that you want to achieve in this world as a human being, because you are one of a kind. 1 out of 7.6 billion people in this beautiful world that we live in. There's no one like you. And that makes you the most unique individual in this universe. So don't quit on that. Believe in yourself. And you know that if you can improvise, adapt, and overcome, you'll get through anything and everything in life. And that would be my message.
I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped. I needed this today. I'm just so grateful for you showing up and sharing so authentically and vulnerably with us. And again, those of you who are pumped and ready to take your life to the next level, be sure to reach out to Alex through Instagram, through his website that we'll have linked, and just know that this dude has walked through it and is continuing to say yes to changing his own world and also helping other people shift and change their worlds. So again, to close, if this was your first episode, thanks for joining us. Really happy to have you with us, and just to know you're not alone. Know that Alex is on the healing journey himself and is daily doing his best to show up. And you're not. I'm here too, and there's a lot of us. There's a lot of us around the world. I think sometimes it feels like we're the only ones doing the gratitude in the morning. We're the only ones like trying to have some optimism, or choosing to have optimism, even better, right? We feel like, wait, is everybody just like pissed off and stressed out all the time? And so just know you're not alone. There's a lot of us that want to continue to raise and be a part of this awakening of healing. In my opinion, it's like this awakening of healing where we're all kind of like looking at our life up till now and we're saying, what is good? How can I grow that? What is crap? How can I unearth those roots and let them go? So you're not alone. There's a lot of us healing, and I'm really grateful to be on the journey with y'all. And Alex, thanks for being a part of Our Healing Voices today, episode 22. Really thankful, man.
No, thank you, Aaron. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm so, so grateful to you and all of the listeners, and for listening and tuning in and really being a part of this journey, because you are now a part of it. And just remember that people like us and people like yourself listening, we can all make an impact in this world. It's not one or two responsibility. We all have that beautiful responsibility to just speak the language of the universe, which is love. So go out there, be and feel and really live love in your life, and just heal. Heal so you can show up better for your family, for your friends, for the world, but most importantly, so you can make a difference in your life and in many others. So thank you so much, Aaron. It's been an absolute honor.
So good, man. So good. Appreciate you. Thanks, y'all. Have a beautiful day.